This is Jose from the Council of Fiends, back at it again with my first place winning deck profile of a Tearelement Punk Frog Sprite. It's a mouthful, yeah. It's playing many different engines. The deck has been able to break through boards, either finding ways to summon either the fusion part of Tearelements, or even the synchro part of the Punk engine, which helps me play with Baron to be able to get more of interruptions out of there. And if I'm going first, it's even more bonkers, because that way I'll be able to, based on seeing that one video where one Italy and a discard and a putback is easily a one card Baron Toad was probably Elf pointing to Baron and the Toad. So that I took ideas from that, and I was just trying to find out how ways I could make that work with the Frog engine and actually playing Gigantic Sprite. And I was actually able to find a way how to do it. So this is my 41 card deck profile. It unfortunately does not play any hand traps, but you will have to see what cards I do play in there to help make up for it somewhat. So right now I'm playing 3 Rhino Heart. The main keep start of the deck. Sometimes I would want to normal summon it. If I open up a Xiamen over it, I would just normal summon the Xiamen, so that way I could be able to set up the Foxy Tuna to special summon the Rhino Heart, and discarding another Tearelement just to help get more plays out. Three Shireen. The main other card that you play in your deck, this is good when you discard a Swap Frog or Ronin Totems off your hand. So that way you could be able to play extra cards. So if there was a case where I milled a swap, I discarded a Swap Frog and I milled other cards. Later on, I was able to do the Merly Kick Carlos combo to summon to Foolish 8, and I was able to go into a Draco Stapelia along with a Toad under Splight Elf, due to I could just banish a Ronin Toad, a Swap Frog for the Ronin Toad, and just overlay to then do extra plays. She's also good because she's also, like, you also play Squamata, you also play Beast, you play all these other Tearelement cards that help just get bodies on board for free. 3 Havness, the main hand trap of the deck. If you, when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can discard, activate it to reveal the top 3, or send the top 3 to the graveyard. It has come up clutch a few times here and there, but it's just, if you get it, you get it. But if you get it, that's just gonna be perfect. Most of the time, your opponents are playing hand traps, and that just wastes one more hand trap out of their hand, to where now you're guaranteed to either have your Punk engine go through, or your Frog engine go through. 3 Merly. You want to capitalize on the names as much as possible, since you want to mill. Merly, the best combo with Merly is a Kick Kalos combo with Merly, where you send them Kick Kalos to the graveyard, special summon the Merly, and then you go chaining 1 Kick Kalos, chaining 2 Merly, mill 3, and then mill 5 off your deck. So you're gonna most likely hit another extender for the Tearelement engine before you get into your Frog engine, and Gigantic Sprite will lock you out. 2 King of the Swamps. King of the Swamp, it's a pretty good card. It's just another Aqua, and it also substitutes itself for either Rhino Heart, or for what's this guy's name, or for Relinquish. With Relinquish, it just helps you get into plays that you need to continue going into, where it could just discard itself for Poly, and you could go into Guardian Chimera, which is another broken card to help break boards right now, and even Chain Block as well. The 1/1 package, the Squamata with the Beast. If you send Squamata's gonna dump Beast. There's times where I hate it, where I dump Beast and then I have a dead Squamata, but if I'm able to shuffle back the Beast, that's perfect. So that's just 3 pluses off of there. The Punk package, it'll be 2 Xiamen and 2 Xiamen, 1 Birno and 1 Foxy. This is a normal Punk package that you want to play, because if you're playing 3 Italy for the 1 Xiamen, that's kind of bad, because if you're just gonna have dead Italys off your deck. So that's why I played 2 at least, so if they manage to stop me on the first Xiamen, I could just Italy for the second one and be able to go into Needle Fiber plays. And the Deerno and the Foxy Tune is just broken engines. that helps give you like insane boards. The one Plex Predator that goes with the engine, you special summon this Plex Predator instead of Necro with Zombie, is because majority of the times you are doing your Sprite engine, and when you go into the Tearelement pack, when you go into the Punk engine, you summon this with Chaos Ruler, you sync it off into Baron, and then you put a card back. And just remember, you just put a card back. So you could technically stack your deck the legal way, the legal way, by putting let's say another Tearelement that you haven't used onto the top of your deck. And now that you put another card on top of your deck, you just activate the one that would just mill cards, and you just hit a Tearelement that you already knew that was going to be hit. So Plex Predator helps stack your deck, helps go into Gigantic Sprite. There's times where you could even special summon it on instead of just having by just putting it on the board just for the hell of it. But that way you make sure that your Kaleido Heart is going to be able to activate its effect. The Field Spell is going to be able to activate its effect. You're being able to proc effects that you want to proc. The Frog engine is one Ronin, 3 Toad, Sweet Straw Frog. It's a kind of mandatory engine for this version that I built, because I was able to make sure that I block my opponent from summoning Nibiru, so I want to be able to summon something else other than Merly off of Gigantic Sprite. So Gigantic Sprite summoning Swap Frog is at least able to help you keep on playing and summon a Toad, to where you can make optimal boards where you can make Splite Elf, Toad, and Draco Stopelia with even another card on board. Just this engine is just broken because you get to recycle back Toad, and Rhino Heart is also water, so it's just helping. It's helping out. The Frost Swap Frog engine. It just makes your opponent worry about different routes that you could take. 3 Pelourinho, the main field spell of the deck. You have to play it. No ifs, ands, or buts. It helps you get into your plays that you need. And it's also an out to Mystic Mine, even though I don't have the fusion substitute. I might test it out in the deck and play a 1/1 of Poly. But I don't know, I have to see. 3 E-Telly for the Xiaoman play to make sure that I'm able to easily go into a Baron to protect my plays from future. My board breakers, 3 Dark Ruler. Dark Ruler, I feel like it's the only, like you could play Ash and Gamma in the deck with the Dark Ruler, but I just prefer to play Dark Ruler so I could have more focus on making my boards. 2 Poly, want to make sure your plays go through. Fusion Summoning Guardian Chimera is just broken as well. Guardian Chimera, Chainlink 1, 2, 3, 4 is able to just break your opponent's boards. 1 Instant Fusion is just amazing in this deck. You can summon Millenniumized Restrict if you have the Kikalos line, but mainly you want to summon Kikalos either way, so Instant Fusion, just paying 1,000 and just starting off your plays is just amazing. Foolish Burial, kind of mandatory. It sends the cards to the graveyard for effect, so activating the monsters. Called by to make sure that my lines, my 3 different engines, make sure that they go through. Solic, when it's milled or sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you get to add 1 Tearelement from your monster from your deck. So you can send this off of Foxy, you can send this off of many different ways to make sure you at least have a play, which is amazing. I like it. And also the trap effect to negate monster effects. So by sending monsters you control, at least that way you could. Sometimes your opponent puts you under Mystic Mine, and sometimes they put a monster, they commit a monster onto the board, and sometimes you cannot be able to link it off. So this at least helps you out in that case. That's what happened to me on Sunday. My opponent had the 1 monster on board. I had like 3 or 4. No, I had 2 monsters to his 1 monster. So I could have easily just activated Solic, send my monster on the field to the graveyard, and then negate the Mystic Mine, to pop the Mystic Mine practically. But he had the Dinomyscus, so it ended up punishing me regarding that one. And then Metal Noise sends a monster from your deck to the graveyard. It's an amazing card if you don't want to get rid of monsters on board. And then the graveyard effect is just to add a Tearelement from your graveyard to your hand. Now the extra deck. Well, start this way. A second. So the main cards of the deck: Kikalos. Kikalos is one of the extenders or the starters of the deck with instant fusion. It's either adds one Tearlament card from your deck to your hand, or sends it to the graveyard. So majority of the time when you're adding, you might want to add Metal Noise and Solic, because Metal Noise and Solic, it allows you to play through Dark Ruler. It also has another effect. If it's you can target one Tearlament monster you control in the graveyard and one monster you're on the field. Target one monster you're on the field. Special summon a Tearlament from your hand or grave. So at least there, you can target any other monster and special summon one of your Tearlaments. But what you want to do is a certain combo where you could go kick Kalos, special summon Merly, and then mill 8. So you could go into many different lines of this deck. It also has another effect that it sends the top 5 to the graveyard, so it's just to get extra effects. Kaleido Heart, you need a Rhino Heart or King of the Swamp, plus 2 Aqua monsters, and it cannot be used as fusion material, so your opponent cannot super poly you. It's going to be very hard to get it out of the graveyard, since it's going to be used as fusion material. And if it's special summon or Aqua monster sent to the graveyard, I could target one card on the field, shuffle it back into the deck. And if it's sent to the graveyard, I could special summon it and send one Tearlament from the graveyard, from the deck to the graveyard. So it allows you to proc your effects and get more effects off in the same turn. Double Draco Stapelia. Nothing much to really say about this. It's with Kikalos, you shuffle most of the time you're going shuffling back Kikalos and the Tearlament that you activated, just to summon Draco Stapelia, and he's a pretty good card right now, especially against Sprite and Sword Soul, because it changes our monsters' levels to 1. So and most of the decks cannot play through level 1 monsters. Play with level 1 monsters, because like Sprite needs a level 2. Sword Soul, if you do it in an awkward spot, they might go in Yazi or a different route, and sometimes they might not even be able to go Yazi. One Guardian Chimera for the poly, broken card. Unfortunately, if Tearlaments could summon this by itself, that would be free. This card would be super broken then. One Shadow Window. Window's a broken card. Nothing much to say about Window. It's just a good floodgate. You summon this either on resolution after you do all your plays, or you could do it off of your Tearlament monsters on your opponent's turn. Sorry. One Millennium Eyes Restrict. It negates monster effects. You can take control of one card your opponent controls in the graveyard. Equip it to it. That monster cannot attack, and they cannot activate their effects. Makes this card broken. You mainly make this with King of the Swamp. You can only make it with King of the Swamp and Tearlament, and it just makes it plays valuable to where you could end on like multiple interruptions for free practically. One Baron and one Chaos Ruler. Baron could help proc the Tearlament monster's effects as well by just popping them and activating the effects. There's sometimes where you want to do Baron on the standby phase to special summon one of the Tearlaments that you want to activate in the graveyard effect. It's just a good overall card. Chaos Ruler is for the Punk engine. There's times where I could easily go Chaos Ruler with Xiamen, or I go. You could either because there's going to Needle Fiber, but the thing is, Needle Fiber you have to waste another card out of your hand. Because you have to banish cards off of the graveyard for Chaos Ruler, and that's the reason why I don't like the Chaos Ruler line. But if I'm milling 8, majority of the time I'm gonna see most of my engine or my different engines, so I will be able to synchro into the cards that I need to. So I'll summon Foxy to instead of this, and then just keep my resources in my graveyard. Because there's times where I had to banish the Shadow monsters off my graveyard, and I don't like doing that. One Redoer, pretty self-explanatory. He special summons. He technically banishes himself to just special summon to activate the Tearlament monster's effects. He also has effect where he gains a monster effect. If he has monsters, he banishes himself. If he has spells, he draws a card and traps it, plays one card on the top of the deck. That's pretty good. on top of whatever he does with just the 2 elements. So it's an amazing card to be played right now. One totally awesome. Toad with the frog engine is just broken. You could either add back your Rhino Heart or your Swap Frogs to be able to keep on playing. And negations, and it just sets cards your opponent controls to the graveyard. With the Splice engine, it just helps me get 2 negates and 2 freak takes. Once you get to Splice. So when I thought of the engine, I was like, okay, people are already playing Sprite Elf, but how do they protect themselves from Nibiru? And I'm like, sure, they have the Baron, but you're gonna force your opponent to Nibiru on when you summon the Needle Fiber with the Foxy Tone. So that way because then they have to open up 2+ hand traps to stop you from going into the Baron line before you're able to negate their own card. So once you already do all your other plays, you just summon Gigantic Splice, you detach. Now they can't Gamma, they can't Nib you, so they force his cards off of it by itself. And just being 3200 when you have the Xyz under it, it helps you break over monsters sometimes. Christian Needle Fiber, good card. Special summons either Xiamen or the Plague Spreader to be able to play. There's nothing I can't really do Needle Fiber's other effect, but at least it's still a good card to be played with right now. It helps me break summon more of my broken monsters. This card needs to get banned. And then one Sprite Elf. Sprite Elf helps protect your Baron and your Toad, which is already self-explanatory. That's broken. They have to open up Dark Ruler or Droplet. There's times where you don't have Baron under it. You have a Draco Stopelia and a Toad, and it's still amazing to have that set up. And there's times where you could either go summon back the Toad again, or you could summon Murdy to try to get you more interruptions. And I do love this card. This card is also another card that should get me banned. Should getting it banned. 3-pointer of the Red Lotus. A pointer is a God tier broken card right now, because if you're able to look at your opponent's hand, you can take out their Spear Modes, take out their Lava Golems, take out their Dark Ruler No Mores, which are cards that are problematic. It just forces a lot of stuff right now. 3D Barrier. D-Barrier right now is a pretty good card against the pure variants of this deck. You just call Fusion and they scoop up practically majority of the time. If you play against Splice, you could call Xyz and you have more or less control of what they're playing, or mitigating of what they're playing. Sword Soul and Despia are still one of the top decks right now to be played, so this card is still a good card to be played. Against this variant, I don't really see it as much, even though you could call Fusion, but then I'll just go into my Xyz and Link line, which Xyz Link and Synchro line. So I have many different ways to answer your board with the Dimension Barrier. That's why you want to have multiple lines to have many different outs to or play through different boards. 3 Evenly Match as board breaking cards. Evenly Match breaks boards. There's nothing much to be said, especially I'm not playing that many hand traps, and I want to play 3 of it because I don't want to mill. I don't want to have them all just be milled. So I want to see it and try to get into them. And especially back row deck. I hate back row decks. 1 red reboot. Trap decks, really hate them. Very problematic. Harpy's Feather Duster with a Twin Twister. It's a 1/1. I could have put a different card. I might test out more of this one card that I'm testing out right now, but I just need to see how it goes right now because I didn't play against many. I played against a lot of combo decks, but this card never came up for me, so I'm gonna just probably cut the Twin Twister and put the other card in there. 2 Korikara Divine Carnate. This card is pretty broken. It's special. It could tribute your opponent's Psychic End Punisher. I mean, not Psychic End Punisher. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm just tired from work. It sends it to the graveyard by summoning condition, so it's not even effect. So your opponent cannot be unaffected by it, and you can special summon one of their monsters from their graveyard. So if you're able to summon in their Baron or the Toad, or for example, you're playing Squint Sword Soul, they activate Baron and Shishao. You just trade them off with this, and now Shishao won't be able to activate itself. They won't be able to activate Blackout. This card also will be able to special summon those monsters, so that way you have more interruptions. You can also take your opponent's Toad from the graveyard. So more interruptions, more negations. That's a pretty good card about this card that I like about it. And the 1 token collector. I might, depending, I might cut the Twin Twister for the 2nd token collector because I want to mill token collector. Because right now there's a lot of Brave variants running around, and I want to be prepared for them. But yeah, like honestly, this deck is pretty broken. Many different lines, many different boards. For example, I'm gonna show you guys like this. It'll be like, and probably like so it'll be one of these two. So right now, like that, just this board is just broken enough. And if you have anything else like the trap cards or like the trap cards are called by, or even Hotness, that's just extra interruptions and plays that your opponent does not expect. Like there's gonna be many times where you're gonna draw like many different lines, and your opponent might not know how to respond to each of them because they don't know what you have. Because when you play a basic deck, they know the basic lines to play against. But when you're playing like 3, 4, 5 different engines and they all work together, that's just gonna give you different plays and different plans to go through. Thank you guys and have a nice day.